and welcome to another video with me, Bailey. This is Cosmos with Bailey. I am a psychic spirit medium and also a spiritual healer, and I am based in New Zealand. So today's video is going to be with the essence of the divine feminine and what is going on in our cosmos with the divine feminine and what is going on with us as an earth and as women with the divine feminine essence. So, what is currently going on here in our cosmos is that the divine feminine is descending from the higher realms into our planetary sphere. And because we are beginning a new planetary cycle, that means, in some of my other videos, I've talked about the return of the matriarch or the return of the divine feminine. And how that happens is when we move into new planetary cycles, we get opened up to higher expressions of divine masculine and divine feminine. And that means that we begin a new evolutionary phase with how we are experiencing and expressing divine masculine and divine feminine within us. So what is happening is that it also is descending into she's descending into our cosmos, and she's sort of already here. And and when I talk about that, she is an essence. She is an essence. And she's not just one person, and she does not just work through one person. And what, as she descends in, us as women start to feel the impulse of the divine feminine, and we start becoming more interested in the divine feminine and our feminine expression, and wanting more deeply to connect into our unique feminine expression and our femininity. And we start to want to know how to express that. What does that look like for me? How can I connect into the divine feminine? What is the divine feminine? How do I embody my unique essence of the divine feminine? And that is you as a soul getting impulsed with the divine feminine from the cosmos. This new, more higher, more loving energy of the feminine than what we have been used to currently working off. So if you think about it, for a lot of us as women, we've sort of been operating off this very survivalist divine feminine expression. And there's been a lot of friction between other women, or there's been jealousy and envy, and it's a very us versus them mentality. And then we've also got the feminine that expresses in what I call the spiritual new age groupings, or these spiritual groupings where you have a lot of women talking about the goddess, and but it's more, I've found that it's more about wearing a costume than really understanding and embodying the essence of the divine feminine and what that looks like to you. So yeah, as women, if you're not resonant with the new age and how that expresses the feminine, you most likely have a very, very practical and mature outlook on things, and you're wanting to know the divine feminine from your own perspective and your own soul journey. And it's sort of time for us now to start moving out of these spiritual new age ways of looking at things and start to incorporate the divine feminine in our everyday lives as women, as modern day women who have jobs, who run households, who own businesses, who are out and about in the world being themselves. You're most likely feeling the impulse to want to deeply connect into your feminine essence and your femininity and embody that in everything you do. But it can be very, very confusing out there if you're starting to feel this on a soul level, on an energy level, the impulsing of the divine feminine, like your creativity, flow state. How do I slow down? How do I express myself and my femininity without all this extra stuff? You start to feel the impulse. And when we start feeling the impulse of the divine feminine, naturally we're going to go online and start looking up divine feminine and masculine, and how do I embody more of my feminine essence as opposed to the masculine. And there is, from my understanding, because I did this and then I went through a lot of almost teaching about it, and there's a lot of very, very misguided information out there about what is divine masculine and divine feminine. And it can be very, very confusing and very, very overwhelming if you're trying to search for information because you're feeling this impulse of the feminine. And then you're ingesting this information that maybe isn't quite right for you. And it's frustrating because you're probably most likely feeling the impulse of the feminine, but you're not quite finding the information that you're needing to start that journey. And you also probably aren't resonant with the New Age. For me, the goddess is very practical. The goddess energy and the divine feminine energy is incredibly practical and everyday, and is embodied through the everyday woman. Incredibly practical, down to earth and grounded. That's been my experience with the divine feminine. So, so when you go looking for stuff up online, it's very important to use your discernment and check in with your own inner resonance, because what's going to start to happen is the divine feminine is going to start to guide you. And it can be very confusing because as I said, you're feeling the impulse of the divine feminine, and so you go looking, what can I do? How can I find it? How can I embody this energy? And a lot of what I found is a lot of stuff out there is very, very surface. I'm not so big on things, and the divine feminine is an energy. And how she expresses through you and your journey with her is unique to you. So when we go looking online, there's a lot of women doing the same thing with the divine feminine. And we may not be resonant with that, and that's okay, because that's not for us. So when the divine feminine starts to impulse you as a woman, and you're not resonant with what's going out there, that means that you're beginning your own unique journey with the divine feminine. And when she starts to do that, she starts to ask you to tune into what you're needing and your personal journey with the divine feminine. So what can we begin to do to open up to the divine feminine as women? First and foremost, I would highly recommend to stop looking up things online that are talking about, I mean, you can, because there's some stuff out there that is very good, and I'm also online speaking about it, but to discern where someone is coming from and where, and their own understanding of the divine feminine, and tuning into what the divine feminine is trying to guide you to. And you'll most likely feel a dissonance if you're looking things up and it's not what the divine feminine is wanting for you. So tune into that and what is true and right for you. And you may go, and you're in the unknown with the divine feminine too. You're not going to know, and for good reason. I would highly recommend making space so you can start to feel the divine feminine impulse and where she's trying to guide you and what is true and right for your journey with her. So that means stepping away from self-help. That means stepping away from forcing yourself to try and evolve. The divine feminine pathway is very, very different from my experience and the spiritual to what we know. And we've got to, we just need to be guided back to the basics now of the spiritual journey with the divine feminine. And it's very important that you find women who have been on the journey. If you're beginning the journey with the divine feminine and feeling that energy and what it means, that you find women that you're resonant with for your journey with the divine feminine. yeah, I think I mentioned that already, stepping away from the new age expression of the divine feminine. While that was maybe needed for our evolution, it's sort of now time for us with the divine feminine to start incorporating her into the everyday world. She doesn't need to be away in the temples or these spiritual groupings anymore. We're really, really, really wanting to invite the divine feminine into our everyday lives, into our businesses, into our relationships, and invite her into the modern day woman that is out and about living life and doing things. And is most likely very deeply spiritual, but does not feel the need to... you can be deeply spiritual and also live a very practical and amazing life. You do not need to be a part of a spiritual grouping to be spiritual. If you have a soul, you are spiritual and you're on a spiritual journey. So yeah, just stepping away from online groups, and finding your own unique pathway with the divine feminine. I think that's very important. And as we can see out there in the media and stuff that's on social media, there's a lot of stuff out there about how to be a feminine woman or how to be a masculine man, but this video is for women. And when the divine feminine starts calling you, your journey is unique in how you embody and express your own feminine expression. And when we go out looking for information, sometimes we can try on different ways of femininity that isn't really who we are as a unique soul and as a unique woman. And it's a very interesting time, because from what I've seen, a lot of women are starting to be impulsed by the divine feminine, but are not quite sure what's going on. And when she begins that, it's a very, very personal journey. So in many ways, we are on sort of like a planetary initiation with the divine feminine. And there are many, many groupings playing out on the earth when it comes to these types of energies. And it's just a matter of knowing that when the divine feminine starts initiating you and starts calling you, that you're going to go on a journey to know her and who you are with that energy. And no one can really tell you how that's going to express for you, because that's between you and the divine feminine and your soul and the journey that you're embarking on. I'm also just going to talk very, very briefly about the masculine ego and the feminine. So as women, we have almost like an overlay of a masculine expression that is a self-protective mechanism. And a lot of women know this and they're trying to remove it, or they're not quite sure what it is. And that is sort of the old world masculine energy. And we're also upgrading in our masculine energy here too. So it's now time for the masculine ego to dissolve. And it isn't a bad thing, the masculine ego. It's literally just a different expression of masculine energy. And so in the old world cycle, women embodied a masculine ego because the divine feminine was so downtrodden. And that's how the divine feminine was expressed in the old world consciousness, was that she had a masculine ego overlay over her divine feminine expression. So it now makes sense on the earth for us to start feeling as women, as we move into these higher ways of expressing and being as women, leaving the old world behind and moving into the new expressions, that we want to start removing this overlay of masculine energy and bring forth and forward our divine feminine energy for her to flourish and be seen now, because the new planetary cycle is all about the return of the matriarch. And that means also inviting men back into the gardens of love and supporting them to be all the masculine expression that they can be without the fight or flight survival, and welcoming them back into the gardens of love. And it's like having a masculine overlay. And when the divine feminine starts to call, you will most likely start to feel the need to want to get more in touch with your emotions, your softness, but you may not quite understand how to remove the masculine overlay. And that's when a very good spiritual healer who has been trained in understanding the masculine and feminine can help you. And yeah, I may write a little bit about this and how you can support yourself at some stage. But when we start feeling as women the need to remove the masculine shield, it sounds very cliche, but emotions and art and creativity and softness. And it's very hard to get to that if you don't have a helping hand. From my experience and my journey of removing that masculine overlay, it took me quite a while. And I did a lot of work with my womb, and I had to remove a lot of past life overlays. So if you're starting to feel that, you're most likely going to go on a journey to start removing past life overlays as well, so you can become more in tune with that. And a spiritual healer can also help you remove energetic emotional blockages, so you can feel the flow of the divine feminine in your body, because that's another thing too, that you have to remove blockages and stuff that is hindering the divine feminine from fully flowing in your physical vessel, and for you to know her and express her as a unique soul. So it's a very, very, very divine, special journey to take if you're starting to feel as a woman that divine feminine impulse and wanting to know yourself, free from, I would like to call it, the old world masculine shield that we've had to embody. So it's a very exciting time. Thank you for watching, and I will be coming out with more videos on the divine feminine shortly.